I still remember the exact moment my hand brushed against his. It happened during our second art class on a humid Tuesday evening in downtown Savannah. The room smelled faintly of linseed oil and wet paper. Daniel, our instructor, stood behind me to show how to layer a soft gradient of indigo into the sky of my canvas. His voice was calm, almost a murmur. "Ellie," he said. He'd asked if he could use my nickname the very first night. "Try letting the brush drift instead of forcing it." I reached for more paint. Our fingers met over the wooden handle. His hand stayed there, warm and steady, guiding mine in a slow, deliberate stroke. Not a quick correction. Not an accident. 3 full seconds of contact. His palm curved lightly over my knuckles, his thumb resting along the side of my hand. A shiver travelled up my arm and settled somewhere deep in my chest. I was 63 years old. I hadn't felt anything like that in decades. My name is Elelena. Most people call me Eleanor. A handful of old friends and my children still call me Ellie. I've lived in the same tall, narrow house on Whitaker Street for 38 years with my husband Thomas. We raised 3 children here, 2 daughters and a son, all grown and gone now. The house feels too large without their noise. Thomas and I move through it like ghosts sharing a lease. For the past 5 years or more, our marriage has been polite. We discuss the weather, the grocery list, whose turn it is to take the car for oil changes. We sleep in the same bed, but never touch beyond the accidental brush of feet under the covers. I told myself this was simply what happened after so long together. Passion fades. Companionship remains. I believed it, because believing anything else hurt too much. Then, Thomas left for a 3-week assignment in Denver. The first evening alone, I sat at the dining table until the candles burned down, staring at the empty chair across from me. The silence pressed in until my ribs ached. My neighbor Laura found me the next morning crying into my coffee on the back porch. "You're disappearing," she said plainly. "Come to the Tuesday night painting class with me. No experience needed. Just show up." I laughed at the idea. Me? Paint? But she registered me anyway, and wouldn't take no for an answer. Daniel greeted each student as we arrived, looking everyone in the eye. When he reached my name on the roster, he paused. "Elelena," he read, then met my gaze. "That's lovely. May I call you Ellie?" Something in my throat closed. I nodded. He was 47, tall, silver threading through dark hair, forearms streaked with colour from earlier classes. He moved through the room with quiet confidence, offering suggestions without ever making anyone feel small. That first night, he paused at my easel, studied the clumsy arrangement of fruit I'd attempted, and said gently, "You're afraid to take up space on the canvas. Don't be." Then he placed his hand over mine on the brush. The contact was brief, professional, but I felt it everywhere. Week after week, the touches lingered longer, a palm resting lightly on my shoulder as he leaned in to point at a corner of my painting, fingers grazing my elbow when he passed behind me, a hand settling for a heartbeat at the small of my back. I began to look forward to Tuesdays, the way a parched plant waits for rain. One evening after class, he asked if I'd stay to help rinse brushes. We stood side by side at the sink, sleeves rolled up, warm water running. I told him things I'd never said aloud to anyone. About the novel I started in my late 20s and abandoned after the children came. About the miscarriage at 31 that Thomas and I never spoke of again. About how I'd spent decades folding myself smaller to fit around everyone else's needs until I couldn't remember what shape I used to be. He listened, asked gentle questions, remembered what I said from one week to the next. When the last brush was clean, he turned off the faucet and faced me. "I look forward to seeing you walk through that door every Tuesday," he said quietly. Because when you're here, the room feels different. My pulse thundered in my ears. Daniel, I'm married. I know. He didn't flinch. I'm not asking you to be anyone other than who you are. I'm only saying that I see you, Ellie, not just the roles you've played. The woman standing in front of me. He reached out slowly and took my hand. His thumb moved in soft arcs across my knuckles. We stood like that, breathing the same air, until the overhead lights buzzed once and flickered. The gallery opening came 3 months later. My painting, a quiet study of live oaks draped in Spanish moss at twilight, had been selected for display. Thomas had a conflict at work. He sent roses to the house with a card that read, "Well done." They never reached the gallery. Daniel found me alone beside my canvas. "It's stunning," he whispered. "Like looking at the way you see the world." I turned to him. The crowd's murmur faded. He stepped closer. His hand found my waist, light, asking. I didn't move away. Instead, I lifted my face. Our lips met in the dim corner of the room. Soft, slow, a kiss full of years of quiet longing. His arms came around me carefully, drawing me against him until I could feel the steady beat of his heart matching mine. We held each other there, hidden in plain sight, breathing each other in. Guilt struck me the moment we parted. I left early. I missed the next 2 classes. I told myself I was betraying everything I'd promised, that I was too old, too married, too sensible for this. But the house felt hollower than ever. Daniel sent one message. "I miss our talks. I miss you. I'll be here whenever you want to come back." I read it every night for a week. When Thomas left again, this time for a month-long project, I returned to class. Daniel smiled when I walked in. No questions, just relief. Afterward, he walked me home through the warm Savannah night. At my gate, he stopped. "I don't want to hurt anyone," he said. "Least of all you. But I can't pretend this isn't real." I invited him inside. We didn't hurry. We sat in the parlor with the windows open, fireflies blinking beyond the screen. He took my hand, kissed the center of my palm, then my wrist. Slow, reverent. When our mouths met again, it felt inevitable. Right. For 3 weeks, we lived in a private world. We painted together in the sunroom. We talked until the stars disappeared. He held me while I cried about old losses. I held him when he spoke of dreams he'd set aside. We swayed together in the kitchen to music from an old radio, his arms around my waist, my cheek against his shoulder. Every touch was careful and deliberate. Fingers tracing arms, hands resting at hips, quiet kisses that lingered like promises. I felt desired, cherished, seen. Then Thomas came home early. He walked into the parlor and found us sitting close on the couch, my head resting against Daniel's shoulder while he read poetry in a low voice. Clothes on, nothing overt. But the air told its own story. Daniel left without a word. Thomas sat down across from me and told me his truth. 2 years with someone from his firm. It had ended months ago. He was sorry. He wanted us to try. Counseling, real dates, honest conversations. I stared at the man I'd loved since I was 25 and understood that we had both been lonely for a very long time. We tried. We walked the riverfront holding hands. We cooked dinner together. We talked about the past and the future. It was gentle, familiar, safe. But it wasn't the same as the way my skin woke up when Daniel looked at me. Daniel never demanded I choose. He only said once, over coffee at a quiet cafe near the gallery, "You deserve to be chosen every day, Ellie. Not because of obligation, but because someone sees you and can't imagine looking away." Thomas discovered the hidden canvases in the guest room. He stood in front of the live oak painting for a long time. "I never knew," he said softly. "I never asked what you needed." Regret filled the space between us. Now I sit on the porch swing most evenings, listening to the cicadas and watching the sky change color. One road leads back to Thomas. 38 years, 3 children, a shared lifetime of small moments no one else can claim. We could mend something. Not the bright fire of youth, perhaps, but a quieter warmth built on truth. The other road leads forward, to Daniel, to feeling alive in my own skin, to risking the judgment of family and friends and the only life I've known. I don't have an answer yet. I only know that for the first time in years, I'm listening to my own heart instead of silencing it. And whatever I decide, I will never again agree to be invisible.